Well, welcome everyone to the Center for Faith and Families Zoom call with our special guest, Arlene Pellicane. We are so glad to have you tuning in today, whether you're with us live or you're joining back on the replay link. This is a special time just for our faith-formed family churches, which are 8 area churches here in Kankakee County, Illinois, that took the plunge with us and did the screen time safety curriculum that we created alongside Arlene a couple of years ago. It was all packaged and ready for you to use this year in your local churches, and you did that. So thank you so much for being a part of the screen time safety adventure, we like to call it. You've helped Leon and myself make this curriculum serve you even better with your feedback. And we know from many of you that this has been very helpful. So, as a token of our appreciation, we want to offer this live session with Arlene, just kind of recapping some of the most important practical tools you can take with you from the Screen Time Safety series. Some of you completed it last fall, some of you completed it this winter, some of you are still completing it. So, this Zoom call serves as a summary of what is to come and what you may have already finished. So what we want to do is just give you some time to get to know Arlene here in just a moment. But we were sharing with Arlene that we've had over 100 participants in the screen time safety curriculum. So just to give all of you a little scope and perspective of what you've been a part of, this is really, really special. And we again thank all of you for your participation. So now I would love to just introduce author, podcast host, speaker, wife, and mom, Arlene Pellicane. Arlene, welcome. Thank you for being
And
with us.
friend of Lindsay and Leon. Yay!
Yeah.
It is so good to be with you. And I want to add, to what you said, Lindsay, that this is amazing that you've been doing this in your churches. And when someone comes up and says, hey, I read your book, Screen Kids, or I did, the Screen Time Safety, and we decided to delay phones for one more year, for our 10-year-old, or we decided that the social media wasn't working and we took a break for a month, and wow, we saw a big difference. When we hear things like that, it's so encouraging, and to realize we are not helpless in this, that there is something we can do with our screen time. And I'm going to share the 5 A+ skills in just a moment from the book Screen Kids, because it is the good stuff that needs to be put in. And when we talk about technology, we are not anti-tech. We are not like, oh my goodness, don't touch it at all. No, we're actually like, learn about this and make smart choices based on what you learned. And, since I recorded it, we've had all these trials with Meta, that they have been found culpable in building systems that are meant to addict kids, and the internal documents showing that they knew that it would addict kids, and much like nicotine, and that there is a physiological addiction, not just a behavior addiction, but something physical happens in the mind of a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old when they are on hours and hours of TikTok or whatever it is that they're using. So I just want to give the statistic to kind of freshen what you have seen. So, for instance, in 2023, there were 39 million teens using social media. And so, you'll hear of families that say, well, my kid uses social media. They keep in touch with their friends and it doesn't hurt them at all. It seems to be okay. And that may very well be the case. 10% of kids, it's going to be really problematic. And so what that means is for 4 million teenagers in the US, social media, playing video games, pornography, et cetera, are going to become very problematic in their life. And you think of that, if something bad happened to 4 million people, like you release a product, chicken product, and 4 million kids got sick from this product, like that would be a big outcry. So we are right to ask, is this even safe for children? Because if 10% of those millions represents 4 million kids, and that's only 10%, that's assuming 90% are doing great. And I think most of us in our churches understand, okay, 90% of our kids who are on screens for hours and hours a day are not doing great. So what can we as a church do to address this? Talking about it, letting people know, hey, we're not here to judge you. We want to help you, and we want your child to have A+ skills. So we know about the grades. I have 3 kids. I have a 21-year-old that's a college graduate. I have a 19-year-old who is in college, and I have a 16-year-old who's a junior in high school. They all had to wait until at least their senior year in high school to get a phone or to get social media or play video games. And all of them did decide on their own to wait till right before college, just because the good habits were there. They were doing lots of hobbies, having fun. So that is that. I hope a hope mark for you that your kids can be different and thrive. Like they can be like, wow, I need my time so that I can 3D print a Nerf gun, or I can go ride a horse, or I can do art. Those are a few things that my kids like to do. And so we want them to have not only academic skills, but emotional skills. So the first A+ skill is affection. Affection. Can your child give and receive love? Are they able to understand what real love is versus counterfeit love? So you can imagine AI is going to come, and it's no longer like robot, robot, I am a robot, talk to me. That is not how AI is going to talk to your child. AI is going to know everything about your child. It's going to be calm, reassuring, affirming in every way. It's going to be all knowing. It's going to know, oh, you had your soccer game today. How did that go? You have your chemistry test tomorrow. Here's some things you ought to study. Oh, you're going to go eat right now? Okay, well, this is the best choice based on like the fitness goals you have. Like it's going to be so personalized and feel so real that kids are going to feel this affection to a thing, right? To AI, to a chatbot. And this is very dangerous. And so for us as parents to realize, wait a minute, they need to know the real thing, real affection, real eye contact, real being, with people. So they need that so they can understand then the counterfeit. So really work on in friendships. It seems, I'm sure 10, 15 years ago, it'd be silly. Like, why would we talk about this? Like, no duh. But in friendships, you want them to be embodied, like people in a room together, like physically together in a room, synchronous at the exact same time and with eye contact. This is how kids feel loved, being with someone in real time at the same time with eye contact. So you want more of that. Build it. How can we have that at home? Around the dinner table, at bedtime, in the morning, on the drive to school to connect. How can we build that with a friend that, oh, let's go, play baseball with this friend. Like I'll drive you so you guys can go hang out and play. Build that in so they know what that real thing is, because what technology is going to do is they're going to give them a fake friendship that is disembodied, no bodies, no present, just your kid and a device, but they're now used to that because they're used to just being alone with devices. Playtime with real people is down, right? Statistically. So it's disembodied. It's not synchronous. It doesn't happen at the same time. They might text and then like, an hour later someone's going to text back. It's not at the same time, and there is zero eye contact. So affection is something we're really going to need to work at, but the good news is it's so simple. Just be together in real life, like touch each other so you're there. Have eye contact with each other, be there at the same time. So such an easy fix. So affection. The second A+ skill is appreciation. You want a kid that says thank you to God, to you as a parent, to a teacher, thank you. But what is technology teaching? Technology is teaching the kid, I am the center of the universe. I am God. If I'm bored, this thing will entertain me. If I don't know what to do with my homework, this thing will tell me the answers. Like I don't have to do anything. And they become very entitled because they think I deserve entertainment. I deserve amusement. Like here they are demanding, maybe they're in 5th grade. I need a phone like everyone else. I mean, can you imagine any of us as adults demanding, like, I need this $1,000 item that you must buy me. And when the latest one comes out, you have to buy me a new one, right? This is really unheard of. And, in generations past. And so for us as parents to realize, no, child of mine, I do not have to buy you a $1,000 item. You can save your own money for it and buy it when you're 18 years old. And guess what? That'll teach your child to be appreciative, to appreciate the thing that they have. Because more than popularity, we want their heart. to be appreciative and to be grateful. And in the absence of getting everything they want, when they actually have to wait, they will learn to be grateful for the things that they have. So, really work on appreciation by delaying a lot of technology so they realize, oh, wow, the world really doesn't revolve around me. And that it'll make your child a much more pleasant, appreciative person to be around. They did a study at Indiana University just trying to help people who are anxious and depressed. And that is a lot of our kids today. And they had them do an exercise, a gratitude exercise, where they would just spend 20 minutes writing people that they were thankful to, writing, journaling, and they could send it, give it to that person, or they could just keep it for themselves. But they just did 20 minutes of writing once a week for 4 weeks. And within 1 month, they saw differences in the brain. They saw differences. The anxiety was less, the depression was less. And that was just 20 minutes a week, writing down who they were thankful for, specifically what we're thankful for, and even maybe giving that thanks to someone else. And so you can imagine that's a wonderful, easy way to combat the anxiety and depression is how do we exercise this gratitude muscle? Because this appreciation is a muscle like anything else. So work on affection. How can we be more affectionate at home? How can we be more grateful? Work on that appreciation. Next, work on anger management, right? We have a lot of mad kids out there. You took their tablet away, they're mad. You grounded them and took away their phone, they're mad. You say the game is too violent, they're mad. You turned off the game, you get it, they're mad. So anger is going to be a part of normal life, but you need to help your kids manage it. And they're either going to act out, Dr. Chapman, Dr. Gary Chapman, who's with Screen Kids, he talks about they're either going to do physical things. Physically, they're going to act out. They're going to hit. They're going to, get big. They're going to do things physically, or they're going to say things verbally. They're going to lash out at you. They're going to yell at you. They're going to cuss at you, or maybe they're going to run quiet for days and just be mad at you. So just realize, okay, expect it. If you're introducing something that's tough and my child isn't going to be happy with this, first of all, be okay with that. Like a lot of us do not introduce the discipline or correction because we don't want to risk our child getting mad. And guess what? They have us beat then. They have completely manipulated us to do whatever they want. We don't want that. So be okay, child of mine. If you're going to get angry at me, I can take it. I am the adult in the room. I'm not going to yell back at you. I'm going to listen to you, and then that's that, and I'm going to remain calm. So that is a skill for us as parents to work on, that I'm going to remain calm. And then help your child understand, is this good, righteous anger, or is this bad anger? Righteous anger is, hey, I turned in my work for real, but this kid cheated and he stole my work, right? And then you'd be mad. That's a good reason to be mad. You should say, that's my work. That's righteous anger. But if you're just mad because someone made you take a test and you didn't feel like it, you want to go play football instead, that's not a good reason. So help your kids understand, is this good anger or bad anger? And when they're playing video games, we have this on page 129 of Screen Kids. But for instance, if they get angry, kind of think about what happened before this. Is there a certain game that they started playing? Are there certain friends when they play with them, they tend to get angry? Is this game too violent? Is this game maybe a little too hard and it's making them mad because it's not the right level for them? So just kind of thinks, what is making them so mad at this moment? And I link it to video games because for boys, a lot of that anger is linked to them playing games. Okay, affection, appreciation, anger management. We get to apology. And apology is just the being able to say, I'm sorry. I was wrong and I'm sorry. We live in a world that says, you weren't wrong. They were wrong and they should apologize to you. Right. But in order to repair relationships, we're going to have to say, like David, create in me a clean heart, renew a right spirit in me. God, forgive me. Like we have to have this kind of attitude ourselves. So maybe as a parent, it looks like, hey, child of mine, I gave you this phone too early. I let you sleep with it. And I know you've been really struggling with sleeping, right? And with people, nothing good is happening at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And so that is, child of mine, I'm sorry. I wasn't being your parent. I was too afraid to displease you, and I'm sorry, and I realize it's my role to protect you. And I know this isn't going to be popular, but I'm going to be collecting your phone at night because I love you. And you know what? If they freak out, that's okay. But we can model that apology of owning, hey, I'm responsible for that, because we're living in a world that says you're not responsible. The other person, you are the victim. And if they aren't going to realize that, then they're toxic in your life and you should cut them out. And we're going to have a lot of isolated kids because they don't know how to repair relationships. So apology really important. And the last of the 5A+ skills is attention, which you have done a really good job of because if you're still with me, it means you are paying attention. So having, I mean, you can imagine for kids to be able to listen to a teacher, that's going to help them be successful someday. If they get married, to be able to listen to their spouse, right? Like this, listen to their kids. All of these things, you're going to have to take a wandering attention and put it where it needs to be. Reading the Bible. If our kids have the kind of attention span like a TikTok, shorts, reels, Instagram, YouTube attention span, it means if it doesn't like shock me in 20 seconds, or like the colors are exploding, or it's like so controversial, or it's so beautiful, so whatever, then I'm out. What kind of attention is this kid going to be able to have if now kids are even having trouble watching like a 90-minute feature film for made for kids, right? So many parents are saying, yeah, we sit down to watch like a 90-minute kids show, and about 10 minutes into it, my kid like grabs the device and starts looking at shorts at the same time. It's like their attention span cannot even handle a show that is created for kids. So we need to work on this. This is of utmost importance, because if our kids don't know how to read, don't know how to think, don't know how to pray, contemplate on things, then you can just imagine in this highly technological world, we're just going to roll over and say, AI, do everything for me because I don't know how to do it myself. And we cannot afford to have that. So, really work on attention is reading, having your child read. And so this might look like obviously finding books that interest your child. To do your best to find something that interests your child. And then it's maybe prizes. Hey, when you read 10 books, we're going to go to your favorite ice cream place, or cash. You read these 10 books, you're going to get $100. Things like that. We didn't do allowance in our home. We did books. So we would put books on a shelf, and they'd have dollar signs like $20 on the spine. And they were books we wanted our children to read, so nonfiction books mostly, but learning, about the Bible, or learning moral stories, something. And when they read the book, they could make money. And then they could give a little, what did they learn from the book at the dinner table? And that was just a really good way to help our children, motivate them to read, because that will really help with the attention. So that's an overview of the 5A+ skills. And in the book Screen Kids, you will have all of those things. And I think, Lindsay, you wanted me to talk also about a podcast I did. Is that right?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, thank you first and foremost. That is
Yeah.
so helpful. Every time I hear the 5A+ skills, I'm just reminded again and again of new things that are so practical, so helpful in an everyday life as a mom, but also as a children's pastor. So I know others are listening the same way. And I see Leon nodding his head too, that it's just so helpful. So thank you for
Yeah.
just
You're welcome.
breaking those down for us. And as you all know, Leon and I, we host a podcast called Faith Together. Today is our final episode of season 3, if you want to listen in as we wrapped up our season. But Arlene also hosts a podcast, the Happy Home Podcast. It's wonderful. Highly recommend it. And this past week, you had just a tremendous episode that I thought fit so well with what we're talking about today. And so, yes, I'd love for you just to share a little
Yes.
bit about this past week's episode.
Yes, I had counselors David Thomas and Sissy Goff on, and they are known for their Raising Boys and Girls podcast, and they've written numerous books, and they have a new book called Capable. And it's this whole idea in their 30 years of clinical practice. They're like, wait a minute, we are concerned. And what is concerning them is so few kids are capable and ready for adult life. They're just not ready. And they're just thinking, what has happened to make this happen. So a few, listen to the podcast, get the book for everything, but I will give you kind of a few gems of it. You can imagine elementary school, all these girls, I think they're like playing a sport, and now it's time for them to leave. And all the parents are carrying the backpacks, right? The kids aren't carrying their own backpacks. All the parents are carrying the backpack. So this mom was like, no, you can carry your own backpack. And the girl's like, no, mom, you do it. And the mom said, you are capable of carrying this backpack. Mom, I don't want to be capable. And that kind of was encapsulated the spirit of this age of kids being like, I don't want to be capable. I want you to do that for me. And so realizing, okay, this is an issue, and we need to actually engineer moments in our life where our kids will be uncomfortable, will have to do something that they say is awkward. They gave a story about a girl who didn't want to invite another girl into her friend group. But then the mom was just reminding, honey, just a few months ago, you were the outsider and someone needed to invite you in. You need to invite her in. And she was like, Mom, that would be so awkward. I don't want to do that. And the mom was like, no, we need to do awkward. So I think that mindset of instead of avoiding these growth situations with our kids, we actually need to look for them to say, hey, yeah, pick up your backpack. Oh, you forgot your lunch? Too bad. You're going to need to remember how hungry you were so that tomorrow you don't forget your lunch, to realize our kids are capable. And they talked about how usually there's an anxious parent and a non-anxious parent. And how sometimes we as parents, it's us. We're the ones like, oh, honey, let me do this for you. Sissy gave the example of her nephew, I think he was 7, and how they're at a restaurant, and so the dad of the boy was like, you can go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom in the restaurant and come back. He's 7. And Sissy is thinking like, oh no, I'm a counselor. I know bad things happen in the bathroom. But very wisely, she doesn't say anything. And she's like, man, Mike, nephew came back with his head high, so proud that he could take himself to the bathroom, right? So usually there is that parent that's more willing to say, go do that. In my family, that'd be my husband. And a lot of times it is the man. The wife is twice as likely to be the anxious parent as the husband is. So for us, whoever is more anxious, to be like, I need to zip my lip and let this happen and let my child learn to be capable. And then for the strong parent, so they talked about how a lot of times there's a challenge type of parent and a support. And isn't that neat how God made it? He really, because a lot of times the man is the challenge person and the woman is the support person, because the Lord has put that in our DNA to be this way. That, of course, there's exceptions, but that's generally the case. And so for us as moms to be okay with like, oh, like for me, it was, oh, the weather's not nice. I should drive my kids in instead of them biking. And my husband's like, they just put on a jacket. Like it's really not a big deal. So for us who are more into support, we need to learn more about challenge. And for those, mostly dads, who are into challenge, you need to learn more about support. So I really liked that as a parent, we could kind of see where do we need to work on that. And then, of course, that end result being, hey, my job isn't to make you happy. My job as a parent is to build character in your life. And the book Capable is a great way to do it. Yeah, it just basically do what your grandma and grandpa did. They're like, yeah, you can do this. You know how to do this.
That's fantastic. And I can just hear in all of those examples, all the 5 A's, the
Yes,
attention, the
yes.
affection, the
Yeah,
apology, the anger management, you can hear all those
yes.
different things in there of like, okay, you
Yeah,
can do this.
yeah.
And just even that turning into appreciation for your kids. Like, I knew you could do it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And then being able to step in and take ownership.
Yeah.
So, listeners, I hope that's helpful to you as you think about the kids that you love and you get to do life with. And I put the link to that new book, Capable, in the chat if any of you are interested in it
Yeah.
via Amazon. So you can see that there. Well, to finish out our time together, we wanted to give some time for Q&A. And so if you have any questions for Arlene, feel free to put those in the chat. And myself and Leon are going to start with a few for you, Arlene. Arlene, we know well, Leon and I know this because we know you, but maybe our listeners don't know this, but you've been doing research around tech and kids for a very long time. I like to call you an OG to the whole tech world because it was not as popular of a topic 10 years ago. And I
Yeah.
remember picking up your book at a conference and thinking, screen kids, and so glad I had it on my shelf to pull down when Leon and I started diving into this topic. So you've been doing a lot of work in this for a long time, and I think about spring going into summer, and for families going into a season that it's really easy to just rely on tablets and screens to use up extra time that kids may have available when they're not in school. And so I'm wondering, in your experience and all the time you've spent learning
Yeah.
as a writer and researcher and speaker, but also as a mom,
Yeah.
what does it look like during the summer season to not just survive it with screens, but to thrive without them?
Yeah.
Um, you live in Southern California, so weather looks a little different for you than most of us here in the Midwest, but we have beautiful summers. So,
Yes.
um, can you just give us some ideas of
Yeah.
things maybe that have helped you and your family and others that you've worked alongside to make summer um, a thriving season for the
Yes.
family?
Yeah. Before Screen Kids, Growing Up Social came out in 2014. And the sooner, like the younger your kids are, as I talk about summer, the easier it will be. Now, I know as I say that, that strikes fear because it's like, oh no, my kids are like 14 and 16. So, we will get there. But the younger they are and the more accustomed they are to doing things offline, the easier, right? The summer's going to be. So that when you say, hey, you have 3 hours of free time, please go figure something out. Kids that have been raised without a lot of screens, they will figure something out. They'll find a game to, I mean, just think my husband was literally just asking what was his favorite childhood game. It was Ring Alivio, which is basically like hide and seek, glorified hide and seek, but then with tag team and tag and it and all this. Kids, if kids just, can you imagine if neighborhood kids could discover again, like, we're going to play hide and seek, we're going to play tag in our cul-de-sac. Now, again, parents are freaked out by that. But guess what? Your kid will be so much safer outside in the real world in your cul-de-sac, that the likelihood of a van coming up and grabbing one of your children and throwing them inside that van, or your child seeing, something, hearing something they shouldn't hear, or seeing something they shouldn't see by playing in your neighborhood, that is minuscule in comparison to what your child is going to see 3 hours on TikTok, right? It's not a safety issue. So for us to realize, okay, if we can, so if your kids are young, you can build those kinds of things. You're going to go outside, you're going to be in the backyard, and you literally just have like a frisbee and dirt and some Tupperware, and you just have to figure it out. And kids from day one, we know how to do this. Kids know how to play. So for the young family, I say, don't think you have to be like everyone else and entertain, the kids with a device. You can do the old fashioned play and expect, like, let's say this is a change. So if this isn't a change, you can just do that. So just keep the screens out of it and just have a lot of old fashioned play, because guess what? Kids thrive with things like that. They thrive with unstructured play. They thrive when they're outside. But let's say that's going to be an adjustment for your kids. Then just realize, okay, we're going to do this. The first week is going to be awful. They're going to be sitting there whining, complaining. I'm bored. I hate this. I hate the summer. I'm so bored. But if they realize they're not getting a device, like, oh, wow, between 9 and 12, no devices come out, like after a while they're going to figure out, I guess we should do something, and they will adapt to a new normal. And don't feel like you have to be the entertainment director for your kids. I mean, literally letting them get bored, as Dr. Arthur Brooks would write about, is the best thing you can do for your kids' brains is and their creativity, is let them lie fallow and let them discover things that they like and let them be creative. So I like to say, the dumber the toy, the smarter the child, because then your kid gets to be smart. And conversely, the smarter the toy, you hand them a tablet, they're just going to sit stock still for hours swiping. The smarter the toy, the dumber the child. Now, if you have kids and this sounds like, okay, Arlene, you are living on another planet because there's no way my kids would do that, they're on screens all the time, then you're looking for a summer win. because all year long you're grinding it out. They're at school, they're at practice, you have barely any time with them. You only have 18 summers with your kids, and then they're going to grow up and they're going to leave, and you honestly will be like, oh my goodness, what happened? There's no one here in the summertime. And I gently but passionately want to say, you don't want to regret this. You don't want to regret, like, wow, I had 18 summers with that kid and we just threw it away. We just kind of let him just be online. So really say, hey, I got 2 more summers with you, buddy. And these are the projects. I think the Ion Path is this new thing for dads and kids to do. And one of the things they do is find 30 skills that the kid wants to learn. This could be anything from starting a fire, cooking a steak, fixing a car, talking to a girl, rollerblading, skating, whatever. So have your kid work on a list, a summer list. Hey, buddy, what are 10 things you want to learn how to do by the end of the summer? And I'm going to help you to do them. I'm going to help you learn to do them. So get creative. Try, if screens are a part of it, just try to put something else in there so that when they look back at their summer, they won't say, like, yeah, I didn't do anything. They'll say, like, oh, yeah, my mom and dad, they actually invested in me and I learned how to crochet, or I learned how to draw, or I made a kite, or whatever it is that they did. I think that would be really, really good.
Arlene, I want to thank you too for being with us. Man, the as Lindsay said, the curriculum response we have gotten has been incredible. And you and I were just at a conference over this past weekend,
Yes.
and had a chance to talk to a lot of people about the curriculum. They were very excited, and the thing that came out of me as I was talking with them was your reference to um, digital vegetables and digital candy. I just think
Yeah.
that's such a great image.
Mhm.
And I was able to kind of introduce the curriculum to some people. Kind of, here's one of the things she talks about. So just I want to just throw that out there as a review for
Yeah.
those parents who have watched the curriculum. But I also would like for you to address, as part of our review, kind of those, maybe the things that you think are the most important guidelines or guide rails that we
Yeah.
set up for our kids. I know you've said no phones before high school, I think, is one of the things that you've said. What are some of the other
Yeah.
items that would be like, if I'm a parent and I'm starting this new,
Mhm.
what are some of the key things I should consider?
Yes. Environment. So we might have all these different rules, but if we say, only spend 1 hour or whatever, let's say you make a rule, but the environment is like, oh, that tablet's laying around all day long, right? So we could set the rule, but if the environment encourages the other activities. So really look at your living room, look at the car ride, look at the breakfast table. What does it invite a child to do? And if those devices are lying around, if they're accessible first thing in the morning, last thing at night, believe me, that kid's going to grab those things. So I really think guarding those bookends of the first hour of the day and the last hour in the evening, if you can get those bookends to be screen free, that's going to do a lot for your child and your teenager. First of all, in the morning, it's going to set their mind in a much more peaceful, positive state, right? You can imagine if you wake up and you say, look at the sky, look at the birds of the sky. If God takes care of them, won't he take care of me? That's a whole lot different than scrolling on Instagram and then realizing, like, oh my goodness, all these people hate me, right? And then you're already going into school that way. So if you can guard that morning and then guard that nighttime ritual so that maybe they're reading their Bible before bedtime. That's obviously a lot more calming and a much better way to sleep than video gaming or being on social media, etc. So guard those bookends, get the dinner table back, screen free. If it's the mom and the dad, a lot of times we don't do things because it's us. We are the problem. The mom and the dad, we are the main culprit. So make a system where your kids can say to you, Mom, you need to put your phone away. I need to talk to you. Like, make that the culture of your home, that your kid can be like, Dad, you're like, are you checking your stocks again? Like, is that not the fifth time in the last hour? This culture where both sets, the kids and the parents, can say, Hey, I want to talk to you, put that away. And then a screen free meal, And then, you know, they're doing that National Institute of Health study, and it's what grandma could have told you, a full night's sleep. So, see, you know, is your kid sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night? That means you need to take the phone, all devices out of the room and let that child sleep. Be unpopular. That's fine. Sorry, we've got to take that. You have to sleep. 1 hour of exercise a day. It doesn't have to all be together, but at least cumulatively. I mean, kids move, so we just need to encourage that 1 hour a day, and then 2 hours or less of digital candy, right? So if we can try to put these more healthy measures in place, that's really going to help us. And again, that's why we pushed off social media, video games, and smartphones all the way to at least the senior in high school. For us, John Haidt in his book would say until 16. So the reason is that environment, then, you know, it's much easier to do stuff if you don't have a screen vying for your attention.
Let me ask you another practical question,
Yeah.
Arlene. I'm hearing from some parents
Yeah.
in my church.
Hmm.
So they talk about staying connected with their kids when they're away,
Hmm.
such as at ball practice, dance recitals, you know, those kinds of things, where the parent may not be present. They drop them off and then they've got
Yeah.
to pick them up. So how are you feeling about the dumb phones?
I love the dumb phone. And I will say, and I want to say this cautiously and tenderly, a lot of it is our control, our fear. So if I am dropping off, you know, so my daughter would go to school and then she would stay for tennis practice, right? And then I will pick her up at 5 o'clock. So I could think, oh my goodness, she needs a phone. Like, what if she needs me? Well, the truth of the matter is she's just at school. You know what I mean? Like we used to just be, she's at school. It's 5 o'clock. I pick her up. So it's communication, right? It's like, okay, child of mine, if I am not there at 5, you know, don't worry, I might be 15 minutes late. You kind of communicate beforehand. So if you get to the 5:15 mark and I'm not there, then do look for someone who has a phone and do call, like kind of talk through what are the contingency plans here so that you know you have a plan of action. And guess what that does for your kid? That helps them think and be able to problem solve on their own. And so for us, it wasn't an issue because it would be like, oh, just use your friend's phone and just say, oh, friend, can I text my mom that now practices at, it ends at 4:30, can you come early? So it was not, it doesn't have to be a big deal. So I think it's our ability to say, you know what, we actually want to learn how to problem solve and we are okay with being slightly inconvenienced. So yeah, is it more convenient if my daughter has a phone at all times and I can say, where are you? Yeah, that might be more convenient. But what does it teach her? What is being exchanged is, I mean, my daughter won't leave to go to college addicted to her phone because she hasn't had one.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids are going to leave into college not being able to put that thing down, needing to look at it several times an hour, constantly checking it. And so then I ask, okay, which really was more convenient to have?
Do you find that the dumb phones become a gateway to earlier
Not
iPhones
I
and
feel like
that?
if the parent has a clear vision for what they want to do and when the child is ready for the smartphone, I think a dumb phone, so basically a basic phone, so yes, I can call you, text you, you can take pictures. A lot of them have music and it's not explicit. You know, you can use a GPS, you can use a camera. So the things that your kids will say, I have to have a phone for these things, I actually think it is a really good solution to give, you know, to bridge that gap without being able, because you're trying to have something where strangers cannot get to your child. So that's a big thing. So can a stranger get to my child? And in a basic phone, they pretty much can't. I mean, they could text your child, but you could see, you know, they would have to get the number from someone else that knows them, et cetera. So, but obviously that you can see that, you could monitor that. And so I think that is an okay thing. And you make it clear, like you're having this basic phone and you will have it for 3 years or however else, you know, don't think that this basic phone is going to lead to a smartphone next month. You know, if you have that clear conversation, I think that could be okay.
Thank you, Arlene. I have one more question, and then we will wrap up and share some exciting news to come where we'll get to be with you a little bit more. So, my last question, you talked a little bit about the parents regulating our emotions, our control, our anger management, ourselves in those heated moments. What would you say has helped you as a parent to stay calm, to stay regulated when setting tech boundaries, when emotions may be high? What has
Yes.
helped you do that well?
Pre-deciding
Mhm.
things instead of deciding in the moment or kind of coming in with a little question mark, like coming in like, I think we'll try this, with a little question mark. But you come in and this is the deal. This is what we're going to do. So let's pretend you're going to say, we're not going to play video games during the week. We're only going to do them on the weekends. So you've pre-decided this and you have decided. And if you are co-parenting, then the best situation is if both parents think this. If it's not that way in the other home, then you have to decide, okay, well, in my home, this is going to be this way. If it's a husband and wife, the more united they are, right? That's going to be better than both saying this. So we'll get there, read the book Screen Kids together, listen to Jonathan Haidt together, and you will get on the same page pretty fast. So get on the same page with your spouse and kind of rehearse through, okay, this is what we're going to say. These are the consequences if it's not met, and there's not going to be any emotion in it. And for the kid to understand, child, this is the new rule. If we see that you play video games during the week, then you will lose it over the weekend. And it's not this big emotional fight. It's not like you didn't tell me, so telling them as much as possible and then really like just practicing yourself saying if you hear yourself like getting really you're talking much faster or you're getting mad, just listen to yourself and okay, calm down and tell yourself calm down. Just speak softer, speak slower. I learned this from John Rosemond, the child psychologist, and he was so good, and he just said, we put our voices up because like a question, is it okay if I take your phone away? We make everything a question. No, he said, everything's even. I'm going to take your phone away. And so just kind of learning that, okay, because we don't want our kids to respond to this. You yelled at me or you cried, you shamed me, you cried, no, it's just, you broke the rule. Here's the consequence. Here's what's going to happen. And just practice it over and over and over again.
Absolutely. Right. Well, I think this has been super helpful. And again, thank you so much, Arlene, for
I
joining us
love
today.
being with you guys. So thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Leon. And thank you to the center for all the commitment you have to form the faith in families. It's amazing. You guys are doing a great job.
Well, it certainly is a gift to be a part of this and a gift to partner along people like yourself, Arlene. We just big fans, front row seat of the Arlene cheering section. So
Yeah.
we want to just share quickly that our time working together isn't over. We have something to look forward to here in a few weeks. So, Leon, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're going to be a part of Palcon, which is Pastors and Leadership Conference, which is a quadrennial gathering of Nazarenes from this region of the Olivet educational region. And there's great speakers as part of the conference. It's June 3rd through 5th. And we decided that we would like to kind of be a part of that at the Center for Faith and Family. And so we have negotiated with them that we will host one of the general sessions and we will have a workshop track that will be particularly for the Center for Faith and Family. So on Thursday, Lindsay and I will be sharing three different workshops. And then on Friday, Arlene will be back and she'll be doing a couple workshops based on your newest book. Is that correct,
It's
Arlene? Is that
not
what
the
we decided?
newest one, but it is newer, and that's
Okay,
Parents Rising. And
Parent
it's
Rising.
8 strategies to raise kids who love God, respect others, and honor authority. I said that wrong, my subtitle. I'm sorry, I'm tired from our conference. I have to read it, but it's for the most part right. Parents
Yeah.
Rising.
Great. So we're really excited to have Arlene back. And there's different ways you can participate. You can be there for the entire conference, Thursday, Friday. Actually starts Wednesday night, Thursday and Friday. And then the other option is just to come on Friday if you'd like to just hear from Arlene. And you can get all of that information on our website at centerff.com, or you can go to the olivet.edu website as well and have access there. But we're really excited to have Arlene back for that. And I suspect there's probably some things in the future we're going to be working on together as well, but definitely excited to have you back for PalCon.
Me too. I'm excited to be there. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and we want you also to know that there will be activities for your kids. So if you'd like to even bring your kids, you can register them. They've got a full conference and program planned for PalCon Kids. And
Yeah.
included in that is a special prayer experience that Leon and I in the center have put together called the Playground, where kids can come and
That's adorable.
thank you.
I love
They
that.
can learn different ways to pray to God in an interactive way without screens.
I
So
love it.
it's going to
Yes.
be fantastic. And it's also going to be open to all members of the conference as well. And we're going to be giving away several of the items in the playground to local churches. So please come join us, bring your whole family. It's going to be a great time. If there's any ministry leaders listening in or, participants from our curriculum, if you're interested in coming and finances are a barrier of some sort, please let us know. And we would love to work with you and see what we can do to help you come to PalCon. So,
Yeah. I would also add, even though it's technically a Nazarene conference, everything that you're going to be hearing there is very, very practical across traditions. And so you are welcome.
yes. All right. Well, that is all we have for today. Thank you again for joining us, Arlene. It's been wonderful to be together. And for all of those listening in, we hope this was helpful. And please reach out anytime. You can find us on our website, centerff.com. Have a great day, everybody.